Do you still not believe in fake news? Check out this NBC report that was covering the Seattle protests. Watch how he tries to make Patriot Prayer and Joey Gibson a white nationalist rally. All right, guys, we have a lot to talk about today. I'm going to start off with Charlottesville, Virginia. Yes, I'm sure that every single one of you guys have heard about what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. Some douchebag in a Charger decided to go plow through a whole bunch of protesters. That's the headline, right? But if you were paying attention to the news before that happened, all you saw, and especially if you're like me who has a whole bunch of news apps on their phone, my phone was going off like a Christmas tree talking about how white nationalists and Nazis and white supremacists were having a horrible rally and a horrible fight and horrible attacks and were doing horrible things at this rally. Now, if anybody was there, they know exactly what happened. If anybody has ever dealt with the left in the streets, they know what happened. The majority of the reports all say that it was a very peaceful rally. Even the police said it is a very peaceful rally until the counter-protesters arrived. Again, if you've ever dealt with them in the streets before, you know exactly how that cookie crumbles. Who attacks who 99.9% of the time. And you can go back and look at all of the videos that were taken at that time. There were 100+ Facebook Live videos going on, and I was watching them. I watched more than 20 different live streams from that area, and every video showed the exact same thing. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, all of the libtard protesters were picking fights with the people carrying American flags, Confederate flags, and that's how it is all the time. All it takes is a simple search, and you can see it for yourself. Go on Facebook. Go on YouTube. There's a ton of videos out there that you can easily go find. If you are of the leftist persuasion and you want to call me a liar, if you want to say that I'm speaking fairy tales and delusion, then, well, you're a liar and you're delusional. And here, I'll prove it to you in this next video. Exactly what happens when Antifa or Black Lives Matter or any group of leftists decide to take the streets and are confronted by police or patriots or conservatives or anybody that they disagree with. This first video that I'm going to show you right now is exactly proving my point about how Antifa deals with the police. Let us march! Let us march! Let us march! Let us march! Yesterday in Seattle, Washington, Joey Gibson of Patriot Prayer decided to put on a freedom rally. Yes, and it was just a day after the attack that happened in Charlottesville. Now, a lot of people said, oh, you're insensitive. However, the problem is that even Joey Gibson decided that he was going to A, say a prayer, and B, the next person after him is a man named Todd Kelsey, decided that he was going to hold a moment of silence. Now tell me, after watching this video, that the liberals actually cared at all about what happened in Virginia.
Very first thing I want to do today is I would like to have a moment of silence for all of those who died yesterday in Virginia. Isn't it funny how the left can't even have a moment of silence for their own people that died, and we can? That's shameful.
Another very interesting thing that happened in Seattle was that Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and a whole bunch of other liberal groups decided that they were going to have a rally and a march in a separate location. After their rally, they decided that they were going to march over to Joey Gibson's event, and they were going to essentially do what they always do, pick fights, try to cause trouble, but the Seattle Police Department wouldn't let them do it. The Seattle Police Department told them, no, They blocked them at every single turn. It ended up turning into a big giant game of hide and go seek, where Antifa would run off and the police would have to go try to find them and stop them, so they couldn't get to Joey Gibson's rally. Now tell me, why would the police, if the conservatives are so bad, if the conservatives are so evil, why would the police stop a mob of people from going to their event? And also tell me, why did the police only put up barricades? They only put up barricades at Joey's event. They only put up barricades at the Freedom Rally. There were police there, but they were staged. They were off to the side. They allowed the Patriots and the conservatives to have their rally inside their area, and the whole rest of the park was full of counter-protesters. And eventually, the counter-protesters came inside. Check this out.
What's that? What is it? Hey, one of you guys want to come up here and speak? You got something to say? One of you guys want to come speak? You got something to say? Come on. Do you want to get up here? No? Let's keep the language clean. Can we do that? Say what you want. Keep the language clean. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
No, first off, cops getting away with killing everybody for nothing. That's one thing. Second of all, the label that the government puts on certain people.
Who else wants to speak? You guys got some opinions. You want to come up here, say something, okay? I'm not afraid of your opinions. If you guys got something to say, come up here. It's fine. Nobody? You guys had a lot to say earlier. I'm serious. I'm being serious right now. Black Lives Matters, whoever. You got some communists up in here? Come on, get up here. Let's go. Come on, this is free speech.
When I was a kid, I'd hear my brother growing up with his friends listening to both hip-hop and country, and they'd tell their beaner jokes or their fag jokes.
Donald Trump is tearing this country apart. He is making us divisive. He is supporting the Nazis. He's supporting the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan, the longest running terrorist group in the country. They're a terrorist group. The KKK is a terrorist group. Donald Trump needs to go.
Dude, that's her opinion. I don't care. That doesn't hurt me. That has no impact on me. They have their opinions. That's fine with me. I have no problem with hearing it. I'm not going to yell her down. I'm not going to yell down these other people. I want to know what it is that they believe and how they feel. That's all we want. That's what we want to do. Okay, let's get through a couple more of these.
This looks oddly familiar to the violence that was enacted against my people, but it's not just physical violence. This is one of the problems that I kind of see here. I'm a teacher at the University of Washington.
Testing that. Give me a second.
For those of you who are disagreeing with me, white supremacy has a body count. White supremacy has a body count.
So does Black Lives Matter.
About being fucking nice to each other. Thank you for your opinion. I appreciate it.
But I just want to say, everybody who comes up here and speaks is just giving them ammunition. They just want to be like, oh, we let them speak and they chant over us so that they can recruit. And this is all just manipulation, and everybody should stop giving into it and coming up here and giving this platform some actual credibility. Fuck these guys.
Yeah, there was a lot of crazy stuff being said. And a lot of people didn't like that Joey Gibson decided to make it an open mic night. However, Joey proved a point. Joey proved, A, come on up, have a conversation. Tell the world how you feel. But the number one thing that Joey proved is that those sheep, those ignorant pieces of trash that surrounded that area and were booing and flipping people off and screaming and yelling, they don't care about who was speaking. They didn't care about the words that were being said. They just hate. All they have is hate. Nothing but hate in their hearts. They don't care if somebody went up there and said Black Lives Matter. People were still booing. If somebody went up there and they talked about socialism, they still booed. If somebody went up there and talked about peace, they booed. As you saw in the previous video, there was a moment of silence for the victims of Virginia, and they booed. They were screaming and yelling. All you see coming from the media, all you see coming from the left is hate. Period. They hate Donald Trump so bad, and they hate anybody who voted for him so bad that Donald Trump could literally cure cancer and they would still hate him. He could find the cure for every disease on the planet and they would still hate him. That's how delusional, that's how far gone these people are. And the media is not going to tell you. The media is not going to tell you the truth, especially the mainstream media. The mainstream media tries to paint Joey Gibson as a racist, as a white supremacist. He's mixed. He is half Japanese. He is not white. People even at this rally were sitting there saying that the only people who spoke were white nationalists or racists or Nazis. Do you still not believe in fake news? Check out this NBC report that was covering the Seattle protests. Watch how he tries to make Patriot Prayer and Joey Gibson a white nationalist rally.
And this has been the scene now for about 20 minutes straight. What happened here, counter-protesters have been marching for at least the last 10 or 20 minutes. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get at a group of white nationalists. They call themselves Patriot Prayer. That group now is about 2 blocks away in a square. Police have built a police line pretty much on every point along this march from downtown Seattle. So what they've been trying to do is trying to prevent those 2 groups from meeting, which has led to a lot of frustration with the counter-protesters trying to get at Patriot Prayer. That means that has led to police pushing the line back, trying to disperse the crowd. And so what we've seen here is at least 1 arrest. We've seen the dispersal of tear gas also in this crowd to try to push the crowd back. At this point right now, the crowd has sort of dispersed. They're trying to look for another way in back to where those white nationalists are, and it's led to a number of conflicts between counter-protesters.
Yeah, just going off of the Charlottesville incident a little bit there maybe, right? But how is a Japanese guy a white nationalist? How is a Samoan a white nationalist? How is a Native American a white nationalist? How is an Asian white nationalist? So many minorities spoke at this rally, but yet the lying, fake news, mainstream media still calls it and tries to make people believe that there is something racist about a freedom rally. What is racist about freedom? What is racist about equality? Watch this. It's fake. It's fake news. It's a lie. He's not talking about how Antifa sat there and they're attacking the cops. He didn't talk about how Antifa charged the cops, literally counted down. 3, 2, 1, go! And charged the police line. He didn't say why Antifa wanted to go to that rally. How come the mainstream media will sit there and blatantly lie? Why are they covering for these people? Why are they trying to paint Antifa and Black Lives Matter out as victims and as the innocent group? Why are they trying to paint the patriots and the freedom fighters and the conservatives and the Republicans and anybody else on the right side as the enemy? The media's responsibility is to provide the truth. Again, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. That's why I'm doing this job, to provide you with the truth. Because obviously, they won't do it. It's not rocket science. It's literally a power of observation. These people are delusional. They don't live in facts. They do not live in reality. They live in La La Land, a complete fantasy that has been taught to them and been told them how to think. That's what our school system has become. That's what our college system has become. They don't teach you how to think. They teach you what to think. These are the things that you have to know. These are the things that you have to believe. I mean, just look at all the lies that they teach you in school. The parties switched. When did they switch? After the Civil War? No. Did they switch at FDR? No. Did they switch in the 60s? No. But people believe it. People believe it because they were taught that in school. People believe that because It makes them feel better about their own miserable selves. The Democrats are still the racist party of today. The Democrats are still the racist people that they were when they did the Trail of Tears. They're still the racist people that had slaves. They're still the racist people that decided to go against every single piece of civil rights legislation that this country has ever put forth. Oh, but the Democrats were the majority in the 60s when LBJ was able to pass all his. Yeah, if it wasn't for the Republicans who overwhelmingly voted yes and beat the Democrat filibuster, the Civil Rights Acts in the 60s wouldn't have happened either. And it's still the Republicans today, the conservatives today, that push for civil rights, that push for equality, not special rights, equality. They want equality. Now that brings me to white nationalism. What is white nationalism? Is it, I'm white, so therefore I am superior? No, it's not. At least not from what I've read, heard, or talked to people about. White nationalism is nothing more than, well, I'm white. My family's from Europe, and I'm not ashamed of being white. Now, so many people on the left sit there and say, oh, that's racist. It's racist to not be ashamed of being white. If you don't have white guilt, you're a racist. How stupid is that? I'm mixed. I'm Indian. I'm German. I'm Irish. That's what I have. I'm not guilty of any of it. I'm not guilty of being Native. I'm not guilty of being a German. And I'm not guilty of being an Irishman. I don't feel guilty about any of that whatsoever. Nobody should feel guilty about the color of their skin. If you feel guilty about the color of your skin, you have a mental disorder. Because you didn't get to choose what color you were born. And guess what? All of you white guilt people out there, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, they didn't own slaves. They didn't. They actually made it so people couldn't own slaves. So look what you have. You have something to be proud of. Because white people ended slavery. Good job, white people. There's still slavery in Africa. There's still slavery in the Middle East. There's still slavery happening in this world. But white people ended slavery in the Western world. Yeah. White people owned slaves for a very short amount of time. If you actually care about history whatsoever, that's called a fact. And a blink of the eye did white people own slaves. And most of the slaves that white people had were other white people. So get off the white guilt trip. It's stupid. It makes you look stupid. If it's okay for people to say Black Lives Matter, it's also okay for people to say White Lives Matter. It's also okay for people to say Red Lives Matter. It's also okay for people to say Brown Lives Matter. If you're proud of being black, if you're proud of being red, if you're proud of being brown, you can't get mad at somebody for being proud for being white. That's called hypocrisy. And when they say White Lives Matter, they're not saying that white lives matter any more than another. But that's exactly what you're saying when you say Black Lives Matter. Black lives matter, and if you get mad when somebody says all lives matter, that means you're trying to say Black lives matter more than anybody else. And they don't. White lives don't matter than anybody else. As you can see, lives matter. Period. Lives. Everybody bleeds red. Everybody is the same color inside. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no argument that can be made. None. Liberals, rejoin reality. Oh, I'm sorry. I know you guys don't like being called liberals. Leftists, fascists who call themselves Antifa, communists, socialists, greenies, all of you people on the left side of the spectrum, reality needs you. And you need reality. Because it's people like you who go out and freak out over the stupidest things, trying to erase history, trying to tear down monuments, trying to make believe that things didn't happen. Slavery happened. The Civil War happened. Stop trying to erase it. It won't make you feel better. It doesn't change it. Just because you're not taught that Robert E. Lee was an abolitionist and U.S. Grant was a slave owner, just because you weren't taught that slavery meant nothing in the entire Civil War until Abraham Lincoln 3 years into the war when the North was losing and he needed volunteers, that's when slavery entered the war. That's when slavery became an issue. 3 years after the war started. There's 100 other reasons why the Civil War happened. But all most people know is slavery. And the Confederate flag? It's not the Confederate flag. It's the battle flag of Northern Virginia. And just to be clear, the battle flag of Northern Virginia was square. It was a Confederate Navy flag that was actually like that. That's called knowledge. That's called history. Google. It's your friend. Independent research. That's your friend. Stop being ignorant. Stop calling Trump a racist. Stop calling conservatives Nazis. There's nothing Nazi-esque about wanting free speech, wanting equal rights for everybody, wanting freedom, wanting liberty, wanting the government to back off, wanting to be able to control your own lives, wanting personal responsibility, wanting to be able to live your life however you choose, to sleep with whoever you choose, to be whatever you want to be. That's not fascism. That is the complete opposite of fascism. Fascism is telling people that they can't say things that you don't like. Fascism is controlling other people's life through law. Fascism is creating definitions that don't exist just to keep other people down. That's fascism. That's liberalism. That is the left. Regulation, control, no freedom, no liberty, no personal responsibility. The government has to take care of you. The government is the be-all, end-all. That is the opposite of the United States of America. That is the opposite of where anybody wants to live if they have half of a brain. It is time to grow up. It is time to see reality. It is time to smell the roses. And I'm going to be here. I'm not going away. I'm not going to stop going out in the field. I'm not going to stop covering these events. Both sides, liberal and conservative. I'm going to cover all the events because the truth needs to come out. The media needs to be held accountable for the lies that they spew on a regular basis. I wish more than anything that I was in Charlottesville. I wish that I personally could have been there to videotape and to record and to take into account everything that happened. You guys can do it yourself. You can go check. You can look on my YouTube channel. I have a ton of footage from what happened yesterday in Seattle. It's not rocket science who the violent people are, who the racists are. There's no secrets. I've been doing this stuff for a while now. It's the same people every time who's causing the violence, who is breaking property, who is burning cities down. And it's not Trump. Trump has not caused any of it except for making all of you a bunch of crybabies who don't like it and who didn't get their participation trophy called Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. All of you got slapped right in the face with a big giant dose of reality. You don't always get what you want. And as soon as you didn't get what you wanted, boom, riots, fighting, attacking anybody who disagrees with you, locking up colleges, trying to be the boss. You're not the boss. The city of Portland, they ran out of money due to the riots. They can't afford to have their police come out and make sure nobody gets hurt at these rallies that happen in Portland now. Good. That's a good thing. You know why? Because now these guys come and they try to pick fights and they lose. Because the conservatives, well, all you got to do is watch my videos. You can see what happens. They come, try to pick fights, and they lose every single time. Every single time. And you know what happens after they lose? They leave. Some stay. But there's no more fighting anymore. You might get 1, 2, maybe 3. And they only last for a few seconds. And they're done. And nobody really gets super hurt. Yeah, there was one where Tiny got his nose broke open, but that was friendly fire. And then there was another one where a guy started attacking people with a skateboard and he got beat down. That's about it. One of them, I got pepper sprayed like 4 times. But, I mean, I didn't have to go to the hospital. This is what happens. Now, don't get me wrong. Seattle police did an excellent job in Seattle. They knew who the enemy was. And yes, Antifa and the left, they are the enemy. They are the enemy of the Western world. People who watch my stuff, people on the right sit there and they talk so much about Islam, about how radical Muslims this and radical Muslims that, and how we need to go off and kill all the Muslims. No, you don't. Because there are a lot more peaceful Muslims out there. There are a lot more peaceful, America-loving, happy to be here, freedom-loving Muslims than there are freedom-loving liberals. Islam is not the enemy. The left is. Get your priorities straight. Stop sitting there saying all this racist garbage, all this bigoted garbage about Arabs and about Muslims. Because it makes you look just as stupid as they are. Just as stupid and just as ignorant as the liberals who are calling all the conservatives Nazis. I know full well somebody's going to sit there and go, well, you just generalized all these liberals. Okay, the problem with that is that the left problem, you can see it all across the globe. Anywhere in the world, easy to find it. Easy to find evidence. Leftists in Australia decided to stop the construction of a synagogue because they thought it would offend Muslims. Look it up. Google it. Find it. It happened. It's real. It's a true story. It's not hard to find examples. I mean, our entire country has been plagued since Obama with the loony left hitting the streets, fighting, destruction of property. I mean, if you really want to be honest about it, it kind of started back in the 60s when the left decided that they had a voice and that they wanted to destroy this country from within. That's exactly what happened, and that's exactly what they're still doing today. Americans need to stand up. Real, true, blue Americans need to stand up. It is time to take this country back. We have allowed the left to destroy our education system, to destroy our families, to destroy our way of life in this country, to take away our freedoms. It is time to take our country back.
Free thought for free people.